The product rule allowed us to differentiate when we have two functions multiplied together. The quotient rule allows us to differentiate when we have two terms divided by. Here it is. Square the bottom, write down the bottom, diff the top, minus write down the top, and diff the bottom. Square the bottom, write down the bottom, diff the top, minus write down the top, diff the bottom. You can have your own competitions if you like, and see who says them the quickest. So, we got a function of x on top, we have a function of x on the bottom. So again, I do it as I say it. Square the bottom. So the first thing I write down on the bottom of the fraction, I simply put parentheses around it and go squared. So on the bottom I have 1 plus 2x squared. Then everything else happens on the top of the fraction. Write down the bottom. So square the bottom, write down the bottom, 1 plus 2x. Diff the top, 1. Minus, write down the top, x. Diff the bottom, 2. So the top of my fraction tidies up to be just 1. So 1 on 1 plus 2x, all squared. Square the bottom, write down the bottom, diff the top. Minus, write down the top, diff the bottom. 2x on the square root of x squared minus 4. Square the bottom. Well, if I square a square root, that becomes power of 1. So the bottom becomes x squared minus 4. Write down the bottom. But you'll notice I've written it down in index form. X squared minus 4 to the power of a half. Diff the top, 2. Minus, write down the top, 2x. Diff the bottom, but I'm going to have to use the chain rule. Bring down the power, half. Lower the power, minus a half. Diff the inside, 2x. Alright, we've got some tidying up to do. 2x times a half times 2x. That's 2x squared. We got some common factors in there. 2 is in both. X squared minus 4 to the power of, close, negative a half. Now, if it's a negative power, that means it should be on the bottom. So tidying up the top, I've got x squared minus 4 minus x squared, negative 4, times 2, negative 8. The x squared minus 4 to the power of minus half, it's gone to the bottom, but it's also times x squared minus 4. So x squared minus 4, root x squared minus 4. I'm going to show you rule number 4. Now, rule number 4 you will not find in any textbook. Right? This is our secret. Trust me. The reciprocal rule. It's when you have a constant on the top of a fraction. So when you have a constant on the top of the fraction, then it's minus the derivative on the function squared. Minus the derivative on the function squared. What it means is you can differentiate something like 1 on x squared, which, yeah, okay, it's not that hard, but you don't have to go in and out of index form. Because I've got something with a constant on top. So I say minus the derivative on the function squared. Well, minus the derivative of what? Well, it's got to be the derivative of the bottom, because we've got a constant on the top. And if you differentiate a constant, you get 0. So it's the bottom we're talking about. Minus the derivative, minus 2x, on the function squared, x squared squared, x to the power of 4. The x's cancel, minus 2 on x cubed is our answer. So it can save us a little bit of time. Now, if that constant's not 1, it doesn't matter. I mean, we just multiply by the derivative. So, minus the derivative on the function squared. Derivative of the bottom here is 8x. So, minus the derivative, minus 6 times 8x, minus 48x on 4x squared plus 3, all squared. So, minus the derivative on the function squared. As I say, you will not find that in any textbook. All right.